I once had to Google what it meant to be Kenyan. It sounds ridiculous, I know. But there I was, sitting in a classroom in Dubai, when my teacher asked me a very simple question. What's your home country like? The questions came quickly after that. What do Kenyans eat? What do Kenyans celebrate? What's it like over there? And all I could offer were fragments of culture that I had heard from relatives rather than from lived experience. Because from out of my 15 years, only 3 were spent in Kenya. The rest were Nigeria, Ethiopia, and the United Arab Emirates. So I sat there quietly wondering, can I really claim a culture without having lived it? And if not that one, then which one? Where do I belong when no culture fully feels like mine? My life has been a patchwork of borrowed cultures, languages, foods, greetings, stitched together from every country I've lived in. In Nigeria, I learned warmth in the phrase, "How you dey?" and developed a deep love and bias for jollof rice. Ghanaians in the audience might disagree, but we're not here to debate against that. In Ethiopia, I learned reverence in the coffee ceremony, how culture can exist in ritual and patience. And in the UAE, I learned coexistence. Classrooms could be filled with 15 different nationalities where Ramadan could be celebrated in one month and Diwali in the following months after. Each country taught me a different rhythm of life, a different way of belonging, but with every move, my sense of cultural identity thinned. I was too foreign for Kenya and too Kenyan for everywhere else. Sometimes I envy people whose roots are deep, whose culture is an inheritance and not a question. People who speak their mother tongue easily like breathing and whose culture carries the same memory for generations. They are kept by culture the way a seed is kept by soil, nourished and grounded. Their identity is a language that they were born fluent in, but mine feels like one I keep trying to translate. So what about those of us whose sense of self crosses borders as easily as our passports? For years, I thought being multicultural meant being incomplete, that I had to pick one culture and cling to it. But I've soon come to realize that culture isn't just inherited, it's created. Picture this. A tree grows in one patch of the earth, but a vine, it climbs and it finds sunlight wherever it can. I've stopped wishing to be a tree, as I've now realized that I am a vine, nourished by the many soils I've stepped foot on. Because culture isn't just where you're from, it's what you choose to carry forward. It's built through choice, in the languages you speak, the stories you retell, and the values that you defend. My culture is now a mosaic, part Kenyan, part Nigerian, part Ethiopian, and part Emirati. It's not pure, but it's honest and it's lived. And maybe that's what it means to inherit without roots, to redefine inheritance itself. You begin to understand that culture isn't just claimed by birthright, but by love, by preservation, and by participation. It's using your grandmother's recipe, even if you've never met her. It's the songs that you listen to because it reminds you of home, even when your ocean's away, and it's the act of keeping a language alive, even when your accent betrays your distance from it. Because culture isn't just passed down, it's remade each time we choose to keep it alive. And perhaps you felt this too, the weight of being between worlds. Maybe your struggles isn't between countries like me, but between your family's traditions and your generation's voice. Culture, after all, is constantly negotiating with change. But that's where the revelation clicks. Culture isn't about purity, it's about connection. Every time we bridge differences, we expand what culture can be. So no, I no longer Google what it means to be Kenyan. Instead, I live the answer every day. I hear it in my parents' laughter and the Swahili slang that sometimes slips out between English and Arabic. And I taste it in the ugali and sukuma wiki, even when it's made thousands of miles from home. Because culture is no longer something I'm trying to reclaim. It's something I'm constantly creating. Because culture isn't a possession, it's a process. It grows with us, bends with us, and travels with us. So if you've ever felt like you didn't fully belong in one culture, I want you to remember this and listen very carefully. You still belong in culture and the act of shaping it, sharing it, and living it. And in a world that keeps drawing borders, perhaps the most powerful thing we can do is live beyond them. Not owned by one culture, but enriched by many. Thank you.